Hello, AP English Language and Composition students. Welcome to Lesson 37. This lesson topic is integrating excerpts into your essay, integrating source excerpts into your essay. So, it is having to do specifically with assignment 223, and you have to write 2 sentences for that assignment. One sentence, you are going to have a paraphrase that you choose from source B, from the eminent domain packet. And you choose some important piece of information that would be very supportive of, you in favor of eminent domain or against it. You choose something important. You paraphrase it. All right? And then that is the heart of your sentence. But when you would put this inside of an essay, we wouldn't really know, if it's a paraphrase because it's not in quotes, we wouldn't really know, the reader, where your ideas are leaving off and where this paraphrased material, which is not your ideas, is starting. So you need to start that sentence with a signal phrase. A signal phrase involves some indication that it could be like a speaker of the information, or it could be the author mentioned. All right, that's usually what the signal phrase is: a speaker who is actually, stating these ideas, but you're paraphrasing them in this case, or the author. All right, so here in this case, this is not the author of this information. This is just someone stated in source E, right? So this guy is mentioned. So a signal phrase includes, the person's name, and then we need credentials, right? So the person's title or some indication of their identity. So speaker, identity. That's the minimal of what you need. And then, you put your information, and then you cite. Now, this example right here is a little different because it ends with a quote from some word-for-word information from that source too. You're not going to put that in your one sentence that is about that uses a paraphrase. Yours will just have some signal phrase. Now, if you were not going to mention, you're going to use source B, right? So I don't know, it's 60 minutes, so you might use that to indicate where your paraphrase starts, or if there's an actual speaker like Jim Cite or Mayor Kane or something, you can use them. So that's how your signal phrase will start. According to 60 Minutes in their documentary, right? So, or according to Jim Cite, a homeowner. Right. Now, I will explain the rest of a full signal phrase in my second example. This first example, you at least need the signal phrase with the speaker and the credentials, and then your paraphrased information. No words from the original text, right? Paraphrasing means all your own words. And then you cite the source. How do you cite a source? On the synthesis argument essay, you can cite, be consistent, like cite by source and then the letter, or you can cite by the author's last name if there's an author all the way through, or like the title of the work if there's no author, like the first word of the title. Something like, you could put 60 Minutes though. You might put that instead. There's no author. But anyway, we'll go by source letter. And so you would just cite the source with the period after the parentheses. So that's how you write your one sentence. Now let's go on to our other examples. Now, for your second sentence, the one that isn't a paraphrase, the one that you're citing word for word from the original source, source B, you have 2 options. One option is to cite your source in the text. Or you can cite the source parenthetically. All right? So when you actually write your synthesis argument, essay, and it has to be under timed situation, not your first essay, it won't be so much, but after that it will be. You do not have time to be elaborate like this introduction is here before your excerpt. So I don't recommend this. It is nice, it's very formal, very complete, but you'll be doing it this way more. But just to look at it really quickly. This is an example of when you don't need to parenthetically cite. It's actually source E that this is from, because this is the author. Your signal phrase includes the author. So your signal phrase does not need to have all of this information right here. But you do want to indicate something about this person usually, and then you need a rhetorically accurate verb, not just some old verb that you keep reusing over and over, like states, 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 claims, claims, claims. Mix it up, make it make sense for what what it's leading into. If it's like very passionate, he asserts, or very authoritative, he asserts, or something like that. All right, so we have our signal phrase. This one has the author, so we don't need parenthetical citation. But let's look at this one right here. It's a better example. Now, I have not told you this yet, but a signal phrase, has the speaker or the author and credentials. But what's also very important is that you provide context before you have the excerpt. So if you start to, have someone, it could be someone's actual words, or it could be just words from the text. Some, actual spoken words of a person in the text, or just words from the text. But whatever, if we're going to be unclear on what's going on in that excerpt, you better make it clear before we get into the excerpt. So we need the situation. So not only the speaker, his credentials or his identity, homeowner, but we need context. Here's context right here, the situation. Being adversely affected by the current eminent domain policy. That's context. Then we need a verb, and he is actually speaking. So now, if you are quoting a full clause, here is my subject, here's my verb. If you have a subject and a verb together, you have a full clause of some sort, independent or subordinate, but you have a clause. You must precede a full clause in a quote with a comma. If what you're citing is just a phrase or maybe a subordinate clause, then you would need a comma. Because subordinate clauses, like for instance, which is known only by, that's which is a subject verb, but it's not a complete thought, that's a subordinate clause. They can necessitate a comma before them too, but if it's just a phrase, then you probably will not have a comma before it, unless that type of phrase in a regular sentence all by itself would need to have a pause before it. So just test it out. But here, this is a clause, so we do want a comma. It's a use of ellipsis within it, so this person didn't want to quote too many words. So we take some words out and use ellipsis. And then notice that your sentence ends with a quoted material, which originally probably was a period there, but the rule is put the parentheses for the source, and then put whatever punctuation would go there, put it after. So that's how you do that. Now, I'm going to be a little more demanding. If you're quoting from your source and the words that are quoted are not from someone's mouth, that are already in quotes, if they're not, then you just put them in double quotes like this. This is actually not technically correct. We want, this was stated by a person in the text, so it was originally in quotes from source B, so we need single quotes inside of double quotes if you're going to cite a person's spoken words that were already in quotes. So your second sentence, signal phrase, speaker, identity, context, quote of material, cite the source, and that's it. I think this will be pretty easy for you. You're writing 2 sentences, you can do it. Thank you.